one-on-one therapy. And as usually, every Wednesday I connect here to stay with you a little bit, to chat, and obviously answer your questions. Every Wednesday we try to target different topics, and sometimes I am using this momentum to answer your questions that you are sending me in private and so on, which I really appreciate, and I really like to connect with you. So whenever you think that you would like to target another topic or to talk a little bit about something else, please let me know. As an occupational therapist, I work with children with special needs, with different ages and different conditions, meaning that we will have children, hello Monique, we will have children with autism, we will have children with Down syndrome, we will have children with global developmental delay. Basically, in general, we will be working with children with different difficulties. It could be just purely sensory, or it could be sensory in speech, it could be sensory in motor, etc., etc. Most of the time, our kids are not having only one particular difficulty, So my job basically goes within this line of working with kids with special needs, make sure that they become independent as much as possible. And in the meantime, in this road, I will say, in this journey, we encounter kids with different difficulties and struggles. And one topic that actually it's very interesting is, besides autism, which is very, very interesting, it's girls with autism. Now, this is not only for parents who, have a child with autism or not, or a girl or a boy or whatever. Certain things are applying for everyone, okay? But I have how to tell you, I have this interest, and I think it's so fascinating, girls with autism, and they are not completely different, boys with autism, but there are certain things that I would like to mention and just drop them here. So in case if there is someone watching and not sure if your daughter could have autism, or even yourself, maybe as an adult you have, and nobody told you before, it could be, like a little hint, because there is nothing wrong about it. I really try to fight against this idea of, oh my goodness, you have autism, what's wrong? Or you have ADHD, oh my goodness, how are you living with that? We try to, the best thing that can happen to someone is that if all your life you are having questions, someone can actually answer to you for them. So I think once you get diagnosis, it gives you solutions and gives you that hope that, okay, we're having this situation, what can we do now? What can we do about it? Guys, I'm just going to sort it out fast. I am going to talk only here about children with special needs, and the topic today is about girls with autism. So, I'm an occupational therapist. I work with kids with special needs. I much appreciate that you can support my channel and my clinic, which called Panacea Therapy Center, on social media and Instagram. You can always follow me on Instagram as well. And if you have any questions or whatever, just send me a message over there and I will be able to target it in the next Wednesday. I connect every single Wednesday. Okay? So let's go to the topic. Girls with autism. Most of the time in my practice as an occupational therapist, I work, I have a couple of girls with autism. Most of the time they are mistaken with ADHD or vice versa. You will have a lot of girls who will be coming with the possibility of diagnosis of autism, but really and truly is ADHD in girls, which is very, very similar. But there is certain things that I would like to point out. So like I said before, in case if you are watching and you are questioning that, listen, maybe my daughter or my client or whatever it could help you out. As we know, autism, it's not defined by only, like there is this condition and it happens, difficulties in speech or difficulties in sensory or difficulties in motor or social difficulties, etc. We have different levels, of diagnosis. and only we can know which level you are, or level 1 or 2 or 3, so mild, moderate or severe. It's when we actually receive a diagnosis. But many girls are not diagnosed in the early ages because or because they are having these social skills developed slightly earlier than the boys. And it amazes me because I would have girls in therapy sessions that, honestly speaking, you will not see that there is any difficulties because the coping skills are crazy, social skills are amazing, the following of the instructions, like basic things at the age, and sometimes even more. But then there is like a little bit, I will say, overexcitement about certain games, that you say like, okay, why we are getting super excited suddenly. There is a little bit of intonation in the voice, obviously, if the child is verbal, no. And most of the girls that I work with, they are all verbal. In fact, the speech becomes like on term, or even sometimes before, because girls, we tend to copy and imitate faster than the boys, and the development, it pushes, that this, if there is autism actually, or there is ADHD, you don't notice till the age of 6, 7, or sometimes 30 years old. It happens a lot that I have girls with autism and the parents are not diagnosed. And when we start working with the girls and we say, listen, maybe there is a possibility for you to check this further, because we think that there is this or that, the parents say like, wow, okay, maybe actually I was like that when I was a little, and actually my way of thinking is very much related, etc., etc. So I find it extremely positive. I don't think there is anything wrong here. It's great that someone can answer your question, and sometimes maybe certain things your head will finally find that solution, like, okay, that's why my way of thinking it's like this, or my way of acting it's like that. So in girls with autism, I will say like this: the fact that you have a lot of girls that are extremely clever, so they have this high functional thought, no, and behavior, that's very, very much related. I have a lot of girls who will be doing crazy things at the age of 3, 4. They will be speaking perfect English without any difficulty. They will be doing coping skills, social skills, developing independent skills, really at early stages. And so it's incredible, it's incredible. But I will say, like, one thing is the intonation in the voice. So in case if you're having a girl, or you are a therapist working with girls with autism, have a look a little bit. Just give me 1 second, guys. And just give me 1 second. Okay, so I want just to because papa. So, sorry, I am back. Like I said, what surprised me a lot is the intonation of the voice. There is a little bit of, you can see, like, or this incredible, super well pronounced English. Like, depends on which country you are, no, but let's say in the country where I am working, you have different way of speaking English, and everybody has their own accent. But it happens very often when you are facing a girl with autism. You have this crazy, like, super clean English with an accent, like it looks like from a cartoon. So it's really interesting to pay attention on that. Another thing is that we are a little bit stubborn. You will say, but girls in general can be a little bit stubborn. Well, yes and no. You will have a lot of girls who are stubborn, but if you say no or you're putting your limits, you still have that disciplined way of managing, no, the session and changing activities, and there is no that limit of no, first this, then that, and then that, no, because sometimes in children with autism in general, the brain works very much structured. We like structure, we like routine, and sometimes because in one session last week we did ABC, the kid will expect that the next session, when they go to the session, we will do ABC. However, life is not like that. We have a lot of unpredictable moments and we meet unpredictable people. We don't know how the people will react to us. So we are, there is always something going on, you know? So I like to work with the kids in the sense of preparing them for the future, kind of, you know? Giving those little momentums and change activities, and maybe, you know, plan my activity obviously, but see a little bit around how the kid is working today, so the child is not getting used to that routine and to that predictability. Okay. Another thing that I will suggest is that in case if to pay attention, especially for girls, it's the way how socially you are interacting. Most of the time, girls with autism will not have any difficulties to interact with their peers, to behave at school, you know, to attend to the classroom, have friends, etc., etc. But there is a little bit of a social barrier, especially at the age of 7, 8. So me, I'm talking about always when I meet girls a little bit earlier, you know, like the age of 2, 3, they don't have yet the diagnosis, but the parents are feeling like there is something else going on. Or for example, we're extremely picky at eating. You have a lot of girls with autism who are very picky at eating. They are extremely picky and choosy about the food that they want. This food is for summer, that food is for winter. This food is going to be just in this way, and I will eat it at home, and at school I'm not going to eat it. This also applies for boys, but boys are a little bit more simpler. I will say they will go for the 3, 4 basic food that they eat, and then, you know, maybe sometimes they will be choosing around and maybe changing a little bit. But the girls will have this way of structure about feeding. You know, like, I want to help in doing cooking, but I don't want to eat, but I want you to eat your food. There is this way of managing the situation. They want to be in control from the very early age, and they want to show that, you know. So I will say, like, for girls with autism, everything that I'm saying, it's nothing negative, you know, and it can be applicable to many kids. You can say, maybe even your child doesn't have autism, say, but my kid is like that, or my girl is like that. But like I'm saying, there is always something else that you feel like, there is that limit, no? That social limit, that communication limit, or maybe the way of understanding or reasoning when you observe your kid, you know? That in certain situations or in certain maybe group activities or at school, she wants to be the leader, she wants to be under control, she wants to tell or to feed others, but she will not eat her food, for example. Things like that. I remember once I was having this girl who came with a diagnosis with autism. She was 2 years. Now, for you to know, there is 2 types of diagnosis. There is the ADOS, so the ADOS 2, which is the most famous diagnosis, no, process that we have for both girls and boys. And there is then the ADIR, which is another type of questionnaire, also for parents, and it also can be done with an occupational therapist, psychologist, I think early intervention, or I don't remember if an early intervention can do it, but an occupational therapist for sure. And it's very interesting because it's a questionnaire for parents with a lot of stuff, you know, since the kids was baby, if how he or she is behaving in different situations. And after this diagnosis, a lot of parents realize that, oh, but actually I was like that, or I am behaving like that, or actually I'm having difficulties to answer these questions for myself. So this is like I'm saying, sometimes this process, no, when the parents are facing the process of the diagnosis, it's very hard, it's very difficult, but at the same time can be very interesting, because you get maybe certain answers that you were looking since very long, no, for yourself. And I remember this girl came to the session and the parents were super afraid because they didn't know what is going to happen. There is the possibility of autism, and but the girl is extremely functional and very high functional, and with amazing coping skills, and she repeats a lot but not so much verbal. She was having like few words, and she was two at that time. Yes, 2 years and 2 months, something like that. Or just turning two, I don't remember. And we start working, and I said, I think, the parents came with the possibility of diagnosis, but they weren't sure that there is anything to worry, because, like I'm telling you, girls with autism, there is this masking phase, they really pass some of them with the limit. You will not even notice. I especially like to watch certain programs of adults with autism, and if you check the girls, you will not even know that the girl has autism, and because the way how she's communicating or talking, paying attention, eye contact, managing herself in social activities, etc., etc. Because socially we are a little bit more developed than the boys, or we develop faster than the boys. And at the beginning I did the first consultation, then we did a couple of sessions, and I don't like to diagnose because I find it unprofessional. Come to the parents to say, listen, I think your kid has this, that. I like to pass the test, the questionnaires, or otherwise refer to the professional who can do it. But I was honest with her, and I said, listen, I think you should read about Asperger. Which is it's not any more common use in therapy to use Asperger, okay, for girls or boys, but it was a definition for a high functional autism. Okay, so it's basically kids who socially will have certain difficulties, but cognitively, verbally, and like extremely great memory, hobbies, or maybe I will say like skills, very I will say unique. They are great at piano, or they will be great at puzzles, or they will be extremely good at knowing every single planet and what happened inside of the planet, or dinosaurs, or they have like this like brain, like extremely high functional, no? Or languages. I had this kid who was like 9 years old, and he was talking like 7 languages, and you're like, what? So it was extremely, it's extremely for me interesting. But with the girls, I was like, okay, to the parents, listen, I think you should read a little bit about Asperger, and you should read just a little bit in general, about autism, how it works, etc. Because certain things that I'm seeing could be, but now the kid is very little, usually the diagnosis happens around 2.5 years, 3, and you will have professionals who will not suggest you even to diagnose before 3. So I was like, listen, maybe you should wait a little bit, but in the meantime, I highly suggest you to start therapy. There is no way how you will be not, starting therapy, because there are difficulties for sure. However, where we are going to put them, we don't know. Now, some parents really and truly, they don't care about the diagnosis, but I do think that it's nice to have that closure, no? Like, okay, my child has something, it's a little bit atypical, no? There is that process going on that it's atypical. Let's put a name, if we can find a name. Because unfortunately, you have a lot of children without diagnosis and without name, and the parents are always, looking and searching and reading, and maybe it's this, maybe that. However, I think when you have a clear diagnosis and professionally done, because let me tell you as well that in my profession we had a lot of momentums where the kid will have a diagnosis, and the diagnosis it's completely incorrect, and at the age of 7, 8 they say, I'm sorry, no, but he's not autistic anymore, he's dyspraxic, or he has maybe sensory processing disorder, or he has other difficulty. And you will be like, okay, during 7 years of your life thinking that your child has autism, reading about it, etc., which is, I don't say that it's something bad or no, but it's important to make sure that your diagnosis it's proper. And these parents were in the process basically, and I said, listen, it's better that you read about it, etc. We started working. We had like less than a year, I will say less than a year of therapy. And I remember this time when the girl had to go through psychology and, to get the report and to get the diagnosis, etc. And I told them, listen, I'm pretty sure this ADHD, there is nothing to be with autism. I don't know if in the future or not we can discover something else, but the girl did such a huge improvement with therapy that it was clear, but clear like, crystal clear, the difference between ADHD girl and autism girl. The way how she was then communicating in the speech, and the way how she was tolerating my changes, because at the beginning it was like tantrums for every single thing. I asked her to clean up the toys, but there is no cleaning up. There is not even the concept of cleaning up. She will be focusing on ABC and constantly about the ABC. And I was like, okay, there are a little bit of repetitive behaviors that shouldn't be there at this age, no? But then this can be also due to, they call it the bad tooth, no? And, at 2 years old, all the kids are a little bit like, no, me, and So we all have those phases. We don't have to forget that the development is still happening. Sometimes also many parents get so much focused about my kid has this or that, but also your child is developing. The brain, it's growing, your body is growing, your skills are developing. Don't forget that your child is still having and following a development. So certain skills, they don't need to have in the category, under autism, under ADHD, or under anything else. And I remember clearly that we improved her skills so greatly, so good. That it was very interesting. In fact, we discharged her. I didn't have to work with her anymore because there were no purpose. We managed all the milestones that she needed to reach at her age. She still has, her character, obviously. This we didn't manage to remove, but that's fun. That's the fun part of it. We all have our character, right? So how you want to change that? But the fact that she was less stubborn, more flexible to changes, etc., that was great. And this is when you click straight away that girls with ADHD, they also have their stubbornness, and they have their way of I will say planning on working, and they have difficulties as well sometimes to adapt. The brain needs to do that click for them to adapt. So 13 things are overlapping, and this is the reason why I brought this topic a little bit, because many times we rush into diagnosis, and we don't do therapy or anything like that. We just want to have the diagnosis, as if once you get the diagnosis, something will change. Nothing will change. Your child will still be the same. However, it's just with therapy that we can actually maybe change the picture of it, or get a better picture of it. So I'm really fascinated by girls. I had a couple of girls who will be extremely good at school, extremely good at having friends, etc., but extremely picky in the food. I remember this girl, she will be telling me that the preference of the food during the year. And I was like, what? I didn't even knew that, it exists, in the sense of there are certain things that as a professional, you surprise yourself, because it's not like you don't know that it can happen, but you don't meet kids with those specific requirements, It's not the same, like, for example, you have boys who will be telling, okay, they don't eat the chicken nuggets, or they prefer only chicken nuggets, or they prefer this type of yogurt, and that's it. Here we are talking about elaborated brains, like extremely clever brains who will be choosing and according to the season and according to the flavor. It was crazy. So I really enjoy working with girls. I think that they are also easy to diagnose if you get them in the right time. Now, if you don't get them between 2 and 3 or 2 and 4 years old, I think after, because of this masking phase, that the girl we have, that we can socially mask a lot and hide ourselves in the public, let's say like that, then it's a little bit more complicated, because at the age of 6, 7, 8, the nervous system develops so many cognitive skills that if the girl is good or high functional, for sure you will be disappearing in the crowd, and you will not notice that actually your child must have difficulties. In fact, I know older adults with autism, both girls and boys, and ADHD as well. And the difficulty basically that I think that they face, it's the struggle of finishing tasks, finishing projects. There is a little bit of depression, there is a little bit, of instability. Socially, it's not an issue. Communication wise, not an issue. Keeping a job, it's an issue. Or maybe being on time, it's an issue. Or maybe reading a little bit, like we say, read the room, see what is the flow, what is the situation. Is this a happy situation? Maybe this is the moment when you need to interrupt, or maybe this is the moment when I can make a joke, or maybe this is the moment, no, maybe I can just wait for my turn. All these things are a little bit the main struggle, I will say. But again, I'm talking about adults who never had a diagnosis, or they got a diagnosis at the very late stage, so we're talking about 30, 35 years old. So, or let's say 28, 27. So it's a little bit complicated, because at that age you are, maybe more settled or less settled, but you've been doing so many different things that obviously when someone comes and listen, this is your diagnosis, then it's when actually you can have your answers. But till then you were trying to cope as you could. And maybe that's the reason why there are certain struggles, in life, that they don't have clear explanation, but perhaps if we get a further look into it, we can justify certain things. But when it's about, I'm talking about in pediatric area, because this is my main job, I highly encourage parents to continue with therapy. Even if you, whatever, think your kid has autism, not autism, ADHD, whatever, try to not rush so much for the diagnosis. The diagnosis is important for school, it's important for maybe certain help, economical help or social help or whatever, or even for you to, to like I said, to have that closure, I've got a kid and my kid has something and we don't know what it is. But otherwise, I will say, like, don't rush it. It's very important that you find a therapist that can answer you this question. I always say the same. You have a lot of therapists in the world. Doesn't matter where are you from or what is the difficulty. Try to manage to have a therapist who is actually understanding your situation, can provide you certain answers, and also can, try to see if we can work on certain skills, how your child will be in 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Because it's really interesting, the process. It's very, very interesting. Yeah. So that's a little bit the topic of today. I am really impressed by anyone actually with autism or ADHD. I was actually having this topic yesterday with someone, and I was saying that for me it's incredible, the brain, how they work. It's fascinating to have so much talent, and it's a pity that sometimes parents don't see that talent. Try to find in your kid, because every child with autism and every child with ADHD, they have this crazy talent hidden somewhere, so try to explore that. Try to provide your kid different possibilities to do stuff, physical activity, sports, I don't know, instrument, singing, dancing, whatever. And try to, once you find that, exploit it, because you have a kid who has, I will say, yeah, a gift, an extremely great skill that we can develop it. Not every child is the same, okay? We have children with severe autism that maybe these things are really, you don't even see them, or maybe we don't know how to see them, which could be also a mistake many times from therapists and from parents, educators, etc. But I always encourage to find something that your kid is good at it and push, because there is that skill that can actually help so much socially, communication wise, etc, etc. You will be surprised the amount of kids who started to talk just because they go through the music, because they enjoy so much music and they go to musical lessons, and this is how they develop actually the skills of speech, or through physical activity, because they like a sport, a particular sport, and the parents will be pushing through that sport. So yes, that's a little bit my advice to you. Now, I hope that this was somehow interesting for you. And if you would like me to talk about something else next week, just let me know. Otherwise, I will always prepare something that I would like to share with you. Like I said, this project is just to help anyone who is out there. And if you are having some questions or whatever, that's always how to say, it's a pleasure for me. That's the reason why I'm here. I always not suggest you, I suggest you, but I am very thankful for all the followers on Panacea Therapy Center. This is my clinic, and on my social media and my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for supporting it. I am preparing a couple of courses soon coming, and videos as well to share with you. So I hope that you will enjoy them. In the meantime, I will see you next Wednesday. So take care wherever you are, doesn't matter which country, okay? So take care. If you have questions, write me. If you know someone who is a little bit, hesitating about autism or not, diagnosis or not, guide them, Try not to rush, but try to find a good therapist for it, first of all. Therapists change a lot. A lot. I'm not saying it because I am a therapist, but that's a little bit the idea. I believe that you have great therapists around the world, and we have a very, very nice profession. So most of us, we're doing good use of it. So make sure that you don't rush so much for diagnosis, but you go and you find those strategies, those tools, those techniques that your kid needs in order to succeed. Sorry. So I will see you next Wednesday. You're very welcome, Monique, and thank you for watching. Thank you for following. I will see you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye bye.